everyone, this is Julie from Just Julie doing the True Crime Podcast. This week looks a little bit different because I am filming a special because it is my birthday week, and so I'm taking a smidgen of time off from all the research that I normally do, and I still did some research, but it was light in comparison. And so I'm going to share that with you. Um, and I also am going to talk about some people who were born on my birthday and some true crime events that happened on my birthday, June 26th. So I hope you enjoy this. I will also be doing another special for a continuation of the special for next week because it's America's birthday. And so we're going to do something a little different again. And then the following week, we will get back to what we normally do. So, just a few back-to-back events coming up. But okay, so what I was going to share with everyone, and I'm pretty excited about this, was I have been going through the O.J. Simpson file dump in the vault, FBI records, the vault. They release, I think it's, 475 pages. I have not had the chance to go through all of them just yet, so we'll just go through the first 75 pages, and then the rest will be for America's birthday next week. I will tell you, this system is wild. The vault system and the filing system, and then also like the records, because most of it's in cursive, which I'm not even that good at reading, and then also like it's from the 90s, so super interesting, but we'll just go through it. And I'll point out a couple like big things that I noticed. We won't stop and read like everything because that's what I did so that you didn't have to, because it can get a little dry. So we will start with that, and then we will finish with who I share my birthday with and some true crime events. Okay, so there's a lot of just documents about like interviews. I mean, as you probably know, if you're invested in true crime, there's just like a ton of reports that have to be done like constantly. So these are a lot of reports. Um, I am not a lawyer or anything or like a investigator, so I just like read through and looked at what seemed important. So they went through like his DMV records and everything. There's his license in 1994. Um yeah, a bunch of boop, 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 boop. So they really focus on the shoe. I swear to God, most of the beginning of this whole thing is a shoe. Is the I forgot how you pronounce it. I'll probably say it wrong. It's up here. Uh, yeah, Bruno Magli, shoes. The ones that, so I knew that we knew that those were OJ shoes because they saw them, or theorized anyways, that they were OJ shoes because they had seen him wearing them in like an interview or something. But what I didn't realize, and what makes perfect sense, is that that didn't happen until later. So there was like a ton of research into the shoes because they didn't know who they belonged to. And obviously, like you're trying to find who did this. So they really went ham on these shoes. I mean, yeah. I don't like know if if the photos would be like this today. It definitely seems like something that was done in the Fort 94, but I don't know, maybe that's, yeah, so they start hunting down the shoes. Um they went to Miami for this one. They were like really on the hunt for these shoes, okay? Like they went everywhere. And there's like redacted stuff and like empty pages and all that, but um yeah, so we ended up talking about like, okay, now we're in Florida, a different place in Florida. Also talking about the shoes. So much about the shoes. Um, and then we kind of move on, and this it gets so bizarre. I am like, I don't know. Somehow this has been the most outlandish part of this entire document so far is that they have like I'm not sure who she was because I tried to look up a few different people. There was actually like a lot of like psychics and stuff that were involved with this case, so I'm a little iffy on specifically which one she was. But yeah, this woman like tells her entire life story. At first I thought she was like a relative of OJ's reporting something. I'm like, well, that might make sense. And I thought that they had like her and OJ had similar like grandiose writing that's a little unhinged. But no. No, this is oh I believe she refers to herself as white and living in like the Midwest or something. She is someone that does not even know any of these people. And so there's just like pages and pages, and I read through all of it because again, I thought it was like a family member, and also I'm deep diving. So, um, no, this is literally a psychic from like white lady from the Midwest or something like that who talks about like she talks about her entire life story and her entire family story, which is mm, it's interesting. Uh, it's like really not in a lot of the times. It's like a lot of boring detail, but like there's also some kind of weird because basically she's like introducing um her psychic or like predictive abilities or whatever, and so she's like flexing by telling all the times when she was able to foresee things ahead of time with her family and sort of like this thing that she often seems to almost like perceive as an affliction that like comes with her that she can't get rid of the prediction thing. And also sometimes it seems like she thinks that she's like a bad luck charm or something because bad things happen, to which it seems like, well, if you're like more aware of things, like maybe the same amount of things happen, it's just like you're aware of them so it's more on your radar. I don't know, but in fact there's a lot I don't understand about her story. um and I noticed from the misspellings that she like because there's like a break in between her story and like there's a random let me see here. So that's all this. Okay, so there's like a random hearing testimony thing in the middle, and then we just launch back in because this is like another uh it's a different day, like a couple days later. And she keeps talking about this night supervisor guy who um she like got on the phone and listened to all of her talking, and he probably regrets that because I think most people didn't like pay a lot of attention, including her family, but this guy like gave her an ear, and so she wrote a lot. Um yeah, and so like she's basically said that this is like the one time in her like psychic background when it went beyond her family and extended to like someone else, and she said that she was like visited by or had like dreams of or something the spirit of Nicole. um and she felt her like premonitions or whatever that OJ didn't do it, so she felt like obligated to tell them that. um and sort of like her like visions of what Nicole like told her or whatever in her dreams. She like didn't even want to sleep because she just kept seeing like Nicole. It was strange. I there's no quite other word for that. Sometimes it seems like maybe there's maybe there's some mental health issues going on. And she also points out holes in their case and like things that they need to investigate, which I thought was kind of funny because she's like, let me tell you how to do your thing. But I mean, if she can see more than most, I mean, I guess that makes sense, but I don't know. So we go through that for a while. Then we do like more of like the what is it called? Uh Preliminary hearing stuff. So he's like this is like OJ talking about yeah, he's just like OJ explaining what he was doing and how and all that stuff. Why wasn't there footprints of OJ's shoes or whatever? I mean, it was like the killer been hiding out in the brush by OJ's playground and had been fleshed out by the limo driver driving. So just kind of like an explanation of the in-depth details of the case and like how that had like translated and sort of like OJ's take on it. So then we go back into the ramblings of this lady. Um, Oh, okay, okay. And now we have more shoes. So they actually go to like every single seller of this specific kind of shoe. And I guess like it was kind of a unique size and brand or something, at least size. And so I think they were 12s. Um, and so they literally went through like all of these places that sold the shoes, because they were like dead set on finding these shoes. So then we even have like a little shoe thing here going. And then we start having invoices from like different places that had sold the size 12s of that specific style. Like we have like receipts, very 90s, very, very 90s. Um, we're going everywhere because they are like, I mean, talk about difficult investigations, okay? Whew. So like we're going through receipts trying to figure out who bought the shoes, right? We got more shoes. I'm serious, like there is so much about these shoes. There's probably more about the shoes that I haven't even seen yet. Um, every angle possible of the shoe. Now we're like tracking them more and like getting all of these like yeah, like shoe receipts. Um, yeah, $50 for some designer shoes sounds nice. Uh, more receipts for shoes. I mean, talk about man hours. And like, I'm not really good on like how I don't know the intricacies of investigation. And I know like we've seen Kieran read that an investigation can happen, but if it's like skewed, it can be flawed, or at least appear to be allegedly. But it seems like they did do like quite a bit of work at least to try to find out. Um, Granted, they probably had OJ in their sights from the beginning, which probably meant that they like focused on him predominantly, but at least they put some legwork into things. So yeah, so the LA Police Department like starts sending this is like receipts of them sending stuff to yeah, you can see here. They're sending stuff to the FBI lab in Washington, D.C. So then they like detail all of the things and like they have to redact some of this, but that's sort of what we're looking at here. And then um so we're like really in depth here that we're sending brake pads, accelerator pads, fibers from the door, from the floorboards, transmission, front floorboards, passenger floorboards, right rear floorboards. Like they got they even vacuumed the front driver's seat and the backrest and then went through those debris. Um and they described the vehicle. Um and it's a white Bronco that they're looking at. Um, and so yeah, they like really dug around because before DNA was like DNA was still pretty rough in the early 90s, and so like they were doing a lot of fiber stuff, but of course fiber is not like super conclusive because you can't say for certain that one is from here and the two fibers are identical. You can just like say within a certain often high degree of certainty that they're coming from like at least the same location or same design, but it's not as like concrete as probably people would prefer. Um, yep, so we're just more okay, we're sending stuff to the FBI. Um, and then the FBI starts like sending stuff back from to them. This is um the laboratory director in Los Angeles getting mail from the FBI in Washington, D.C. Um, and the specimens were delivered personally by criminalists third yeah, in August. So they have oh, and Marsha Clark was included here, probably because as the defense attorney, she's supposed to know all this stuff. So, um, yep. And so now they're just kind of going into all of the things that the FBI had. So we can just scroll up here. Glove, debris from the knit hat, shoes, pants, socks, shirts, um, samples of Simpson shirts, Goldman's shirt, and then like the items that OJ took to Chicago, they also went through that. Because as you know, he like went on a plane directly after all of this happened, and he was like in shock or whatever. But he had like a bag, and so they had like gone through and um like looked through washcloth, bed sheet, pillowcase, that kind of stuff, and then they also looked at some debris from um or like evidence from OJ's car. And so that is page 75. We can just finish this one. Um yeah, more from tape lifts from the Bronco. They have like different samples from Simpson and Goldman and Nicole. Lots of sweeping and fiber samples and all that kind of stuff. Um, yeah, some of Nicole's dress, and all that. Okay, so then we're starting to get into what they found, and we will launch into that uh next week because they found some interesting things. There are like some things that I didn't really know about before. And so we'll just keep talking about that. Obviously, I didn't know they looked so hard into the shoe. And then some of the evidence that they found was really interesting. So they have psychics and shoes. That is pretty much, and then the very beginning of like the FBI and LAPD like going back and forth with samples and stuff. Um, all right, so making it about me for a hot sec and anybody else born on June 26th. I share a birthday with Paul Castellano, who ran the Gambino crime family from 1976 until his assassination in 1985. So that's badass. And then some other people we've talked during the show, Mikey Williams, and which is like, oh, come on. Shannon Sharp, who's been in the show, but not because of anything he's done. We also share a birthday, so that's cool. And then Michael Vick. And I kind of wanted to focus in on that for a second because um I have known that I shared a birthday with Michael Vick for a long time. And that was a little journey for me because in the beginning I was like, ew, I don't want to be associated or have share a day with a guy who fights dogs and abuses dogs. How awful, what a horrible person, right? And then um as I got older and I got more flexible thinking, And I lived in a neighborhood where, uh, not even just a neighborhood, like the entire area around where I lived, where dogfighting was the norm. I've seen it. Sometimes they're quite public with it. You see like the bait dogs with all the scars. People like you see things, right? And it was like so permeated in the culture of the area, um, that it allowed me to have a little understanding that Michael probably grew up in an area where that was pretty common, and it as was not shocking or surprising to see that kind of thing, which is kind of hard for a lot of us to grasp. But when I saw it myself, I it still didn't make it right, but I kind of understood why he maybe had, I guess I had a little more empathy to the sort of experiences that he must have had, which could not have been ideal as like a child and then as an adult where that was normalized to him. So it didn't excuse his behavior, but I think it gave me more of an understanding. And then with and even in more recent years, because that was a while ago, I would say it's sort of a redemption story. There's some beauty in that because he paid his time. He did like the community service and things, and now he's kept his nose clean. He's really tried, and he's got, a permanently bad rap because of what he did, which is a consequence of his actions. But he's really turned things around because it's been a while, like a long time, and he hasn't done anything else. And so it's sort of a redemption story too. So that's kind of the arc that I've shared with Michael Vick. Some true crime events that have occurred on the 26th. Of course, it was the first full day of jury deliberation for the Karen Reed trial, so that's something. Um, Elvis Presley's last performance of his career. Um, Luis Suarez, we talked about this, I believe, and I definitely read an article about it on theforkball.com. He's expelled from the 2014 FIFA World Cup after the whole biting incident thing. O.J. Simpson's trial was going on during um, on my birthday in 1995, and this is a little before my time. I know, shocking, but that I wasn't alive in the 70s, but I wasn't. So there's two FBI agents on the Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota that were murdered on my birthday. And that was a pretty big deal, obviously, and it was sort of monumental. So maybe somebody who's been on this earth a little longer can weigh in on that. But the Pine Ridge Reservation definitely, killings definitely came up as an important event on my birthday. Obviously, we hate to see it. So those are just a couple little things. OJ, a little OJ. People I share my birthday with, most notably Michael Vick, and then also events that happened on my birthday. FBI agents doing, Elvis Presley doing his last thing, jury trials, Luis Suarez, no World Cup for you. So there you go. And so next week we'll dive into OJ and maybe we'll talk a little bit about some things that happened on America's birthday. It just depends on how juicy the next 400 pages are for me when I go through them. All right. I hope y'all like the special. Thank you so much for listening and being involved, and like, subscribe, comment. We made it over 500 subscribers and we're extremely excited about that. We're very grateful to y'all. It means so much. And so maybe put some HBD wishes down there. I don't mind. I don't mind. All right. And I'll see you next week with some more OJ. Okay. Bye.